you're a midlife woman and you want to be a good receiver. I know you do. You want to be gracious. You want to be kind. You want to be that woman that opens something up or receives a beautiful present of some kind. And you are just gushing gratitude and all sorts of hearts emojis and beautiful energy and vibration. And instead, it makes you squirm. Receiving in midlife is sometimes like unlearning so much of the things that we have had to defend against. And if that fits for you, then lean in, because we're going to talk about this with some depth today. My name is Jen. I'm a transformational purpose coach and expert. And what I do is work with really brilliantly successful midlife women who've gotten to a place in midlife where they've realized that they're going to maybe have to make a choice that's different than the one that's sitting before them. And it might be that you just know that you're no longer passionate about what you once were in terms of a business or your career path, and that you are deeply wanting to create legacy in a different way. And you just don't know how the hell to do it, because like you're in the things. You are in the business or the career path, or you're raising a super vibrant family. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You do it with so much grace and ease to the outer eye. What it feels like can be completely different. And you might be a woman that really struggles to receive things like love and support. And it's not because you don't want to. It's because along the way, you've adopted stories, ideas, and belief systems and experienced some pain that get in the way. So one of the forms of energy healing I love to do is something called emotion code. And this isn't a conversation about that, but I want to just give an example because I think it's a perfect analogy here. Emotion code is an energy healing system where you go in and you remove blocks from emotions that are stuck in your body. And it's the first form of energy work I received without realizing that's what it was. And it was a really powerful experience. One of the things we talk about in emotion code is something called a heart wall. And the essence of it is that it's almost like if you could imagine that you build a barrier around your heart to protect it, which is so normal. And in our lifetimes, we experience so many pieces of things that create that I want to protect myself energy, understandably, right? I think all of us can say we've experienced heartbreak, loss, trauma, so many pieces, right? And we sort of build up a barrier, if you will. And I want you to think about this analogy from if I want to be a great receiver, but in my life, I've maybe had people be unkind, ungenerous. Maybe you've experienced, harassment, right? Or all sorts of things that we kind of go inward. We like want to tuck in and protect ourselves because we've been hurt. And I want to say that I really think that this was a powerful takeaway for me when I was thinking about offering up this theme of receiving. I thought, what blocks women? And I thought, oh my God, so many things. We're afraid we can't trust it. We're afraid to be hurt. We don't know if we're worthy of receiving sometimes. We are so independent, and I'm sure no one out there relates to this, that we don't need it. I am famous for that kind of energy, famous. So I want you to really think that if we've done so much of our lives with this experience of defending ourselves from criticism, comments, from men and women alike, sometimes women criticize us. Sometimes they don't even try to criticize us, and they are. Commenting on how we look or how we dress or something that we say, right? So if I develop this barrier around myself in my heart because I want to stay safe, that makes you hella normal. And then I look at you, and I was thinking about this. I'm thinking, I'm going to ask all these women to be good receivers. And I thought, who the F taught us how to receive well? Who talked about this? We might have talked about the struggle, the trauma, the harassment, the bullying, the criticism, the whatever the hell it was, the loss, the divorce we experienced in our parents, a million things. Oh my God. And we go into defense mode because you're smart. But if I come to you and I show up and I say, I just want you to be a great receiver, can you just turn on that floodgate and let that come on flowing in? But you're like, yeah, Jen, but I've had 250 reasons not to open myself up to that. I don't know how. That's a real thing. And the last thing I ever want to do is show up in my content and ask you something or encourage you to do something that's completely like lacking awareness around how and why you might show up the way that you are. So I wanted to say that I know that asking us in midlife to be gracious, beautiful, and receptive beings can be really freaking hard. And I wasn't going to do the content this way. It's funny. This was the last video I was going to make for you all. And I thought, I can't do it without talking about this piece, the piece that's hard, the piece that's history. I hear women speak to things that happened on third grade schoolyards, right? Things that happened when they were 16 and 17. Things that happened when they were 25. In my clinical practice, I have heard so many women process painful experiences with other people and themselves, and that they learned to retreat inward. And they built a barrier to protect themselves. And so if I look at you and say, just let it all come in, let all this greatness, let all this grace and space and compliments and love and support flow in, and it's just easy. That's not real. It's not real. For some of you, having done some of your own work and really effortfully showing up to this, you might be in a different space. I'm in a different space. I still work on it. My independence is big. Like, I got it. I don't need this, right? I mean, I'm still uncovering. I'm still processing. I will be until I'm gone. By the time we show up in midlife, we have a whole library of occasions where we defended ourselves. And that was really important when you did it. So I just want to say, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, Jen, I have a heart wall that's 2 feet thick. There's a reason why you developed it. And I want to honor that first and say, I get it. I see you. I feel you. And I know I'm asking you to do something that's like potentially really scary, actually. So I feel that. And I know that we can bump into these really tough spaces of work that we're going to have to do. And this is deep. This is a little more like not as cheery as I was expecting to show up to have this conversation. And it really felt like the right thing to do was to say, I get it if you've had a struggle. I get it if it's hard to trust receiving something. Because sometimes things were given and they had receipts attached and you didn't even know. Right? Have you had that happen? I've had it happen where people did nice things for me or gave me something, and then there was an unspoken attachment that I was going to show up and do something for them that they never said. Did it teach me a lesson? Mm-hmm. Was it a good teacher? Mm-hmm. Do I think twice about now receiving things from time to time when someone wants to do it? You sure bet I do. Because I want to know that that's coming from a clean space. So I just want to honor that there might be worthiness pieces. There might be trust pieces. There might be independence pieces to you and history. That when I say, can you receive well? Can you receive beautifully? And you say, F no. Because here's my list, right? As you roll it out like a big, right? Receipt roll of paper. So let's really honor that. Let's really honor that and respect that. I get you. I see you and I feel you. And the only way to create a different relationship with receiving is to unravel and to release that block. So normally I show up here and I'm all about humor and I'm cracking jokes and I'm sliding things in. And today I really want to honor the energy and the vibration, the way that we show up to these things and really say, like, I see you and I feel you and I hear you and I've heard the stories of why you had that protective layer. And so I know that it can feel really effortful to go in and be a good receiver. And I honor that. And I invite you to know that this is a very normal process that sometimes we need to step into to allow ourselves to be greater receivers. And I want you to imagine that if it is in fact that we have a little bit of a heart wall or a protective layer, however you want to see that. I'm calling it a heart wall because it's emotion code and I love that. But if it's another symbolism, if it's like I kind of have this outer layer. I've done energy work with people where I could feel their static. Like they were like, do not come in my space. But I'm not kidding you. I was like, ooh, ooh, okay. This is not something you're comfortable with. That's how we show up in the world, my loves. If we show up with our defenses and our dukes up, even when it's been really understandable, that can be face forward. And so I am so dedicated in my life to being able to show up authentically and to lean into trust, even though it scares me, to understand the times I've been hurt and not felt worthy, to do really deep and hard work so that I could be a good receiver. When I am a good receiver, I am a good sender. So I would love for us to work together. I think some of us come from really tough spaces with other women and family members and society, and we come in with our big old baggage of shit that has been really tough. And it's left us feeling maybe a little unworthy, maybe not trusting, or I'm just independent, I'll do it my damn self, I don't need you. And that's received by others from us, whether we know it or not. There is a static, so to speak, around you that can come out. And I get it. I get you wanting to defend and protect your heart, and by God, I want to protect it for you. And I can think of countless women who worked on it in therapy and really just witnessing, right? Giving that space and patience and grace to let yourself begin to try to trust again, to begin to do it differently again, to once again revolutionize and redefine what it means to step into a space of receiving. And I just want to say I value that. Like, I've seen the work that women put in to be able to be in that space. So if you're hearing this and you're like, I suck at receiving, many of us do. And by midlife, we have lots of stories and experiences that can sometimes stack up like a really grotesque cake and make it so much harder to reach in here and to trust and release. And I get that 100%. And I just want to tell you, I see you and I feel you and I hear that. And I also want to tell you that it can be different. And I want to tell you that there are people out there who want to join with you and love you and support you and be in that space with you. And I'm not going to tell you it does not take some work to land in the right spaces for those things sometimes, because again, I won't lie to you. This is authenticity 101. I've seen it. I can't unknow this journey for women. And so when I was going to do this work, I was super excited and it was connected around the holiday and I was so fired up, but I thought, why can't we do this? What makes it hard? And this was the realization that I had. And it sort of broke my heart to think about the really valid reasons why women have created these protective layers. So if you're sitting there and you're like feeling crazy and you're like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I just let this in? Why can't I just fully receive this compliment or this gift or this raise or this unexpected kindness? It might be because you've built up that really incredible layer to protect yourself. And I just want you to be so kind. And think about it as if it was a little child that you would protect without a second thought. That's you in your heart. And I want for you in midlife to revolutionize how you experience love, how you receive gifts and kindness and support, to be really open to receive. And it is vulnerable. It is vulnerable. And the payout, when you can really lean in, is beyond words. And like I said, what it does is it expands you into a space of sending out greatness in a way that is absolutely remarkable. So I'm asking you to lean in a little bit to some scary spaces, and I know that, and I want to honor that. And I also want to tell you that I have seen hundreds of women feel differently. I've seen them do deep work and choose wisely and give themselves permission to start over again and to be conscientious about who they choose to spend their time with and to practice trusting and walk away with a whole different experience of connection for it. And so I would not tell you something I did not believe with my whole self, with my whole hope, that it can be really, really different. And sometimes that's working boundaries and vulnerability and these other layers of who we are and what we're made of. And I just get that. And midlife is the time to reawaken, to give yourself permission to show up differently to that, to remove those barriers that have protected you for understandable reasons, because maybe it's not working so good anymore, or maybe you just want so much more love and joy in your life. So one of the spaces that I love doing work like this with women in is my membership. And so I've got something called the Rise Collective. I'm going to invite you to go check that out. Go to laughinglotuswellness.com/membership. Again, that's laughinglotuswellness.com/membership. And we talk about all things. We talk about and dive into every single area of our lives, how to do midlife differently, how to live in purpose, how to rise up from the spaces and places we've been conditioned, and to do things in a way that we feel mindfully connected to and excited about and feel in full alignment. And so for me, if these are spaces that you're struggling in and you've gone around with and you kind of want to unravel and figure out a different way to be, to release some of that barrier, that's a really beautiful space to do that in. So feel free to check that out. Or message me anytime with a question or a thought about that. I think it's really powerful to hear from people that are listening and leaning in as well. You might know a woman that needed to hear this today. So if you did, please share it out. I think that so many women need to know that they're not crazy. That sometimes there are really valid reasons that we show up with these big barriers because we are afraid. And we've understandably been truly validly hurt. And so we want to honor that first and just give ourselves permission to show up in this space, to open up and have a different relationship with receiving. And I hope that you can find that, and just know that I'm here to support that journey in any way that I can, and that we need supportive places to practice this. And that's what my membership is. So if you've got questions, feel free to reach out anytime. So to close, my friends, I send you blessings, love, and light as I support you on your journey and path to purpose, and the way that you revolutionize your midlife experience, that you can open up again and have an entirely different experience in midlife moving forward, to have the best second half you could have ever imagined. And so I invite you to step fully into that place, into that light, and elevate yourself in your journey in a way that you could not even imagine experiencing. That it is so great. And so I'm inviting you to be really brave, to step in and try something different, to create a different experience for yourself so that you can be a grand receiver and an even better sender. So blessings, love, and light, everyone. We will see you next time. Take care.